everyone, I'm Perika Kaura from MRIS 14.
And I'm Vedika Rajpal from MRIS Jamwood.
You are watching a conversation with Aparna Sanyal, filmmaker, mental health advocate, and feminist voice. Let's get right in. Greetings to you, ma'am. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you. Thank you for having me here.
As I was looking through your page, I found out that your very first film, Teri Lakir, it fearlessly addressed Section 377 back in 2002, a time where such conversations were very far off from mainstream.
Yeah.
So, what made you choose such a bold and urgent subject for your very first film?
That's a really lovely question. Like you said, this was way back in 2002, and that was a time when, unlike now, conversations on sexuality were really unknown. I think the reason, so this was one of my graduation projects. I was doing my master's in mass communication, and this was supposed to be a group project. So there were two other people, right? And it was a very interesting process of figuring out what we really wanted to focus on for our final film project, And, we considered multiple things, but I think what really made the difference was the fact that one of the people in the group, one of my friends who was part of the group with me, was someone who identified as gay. And, and while we were talking, we would have these long heart-to-heart conversations and so on, and I think during that process, and that was also the time when the NARS Foundation, which was again one of the first few organizations to look at issues that plagued the LGBTQIA community. At that point, it was only called LGBT. So they had just filed the case, in the court. And it was a talking point. We were talking about it, and there was a lot of backlash, to the case. And it was very interesting because the most conservative elements of society actually got together, no matter which religion they came from. Otherwise, people fight each other on religion, but this was one matter where, religions came together to oppose, this case in the court. So really it came from that because we wanted to look at something that was real. And it didn't come from a place of wanting to do something different, but rather it was ready to say, hey, can we make a film on something that makes a difference? And what could be more important than an issue which actually threatened the well-being of somebody we knew, somebody who was part of the group, right? Because at that point, you could be picked up and put into jail just because of your sexual preference. So that's really where it came from.
That's understandable, ma'am.
Ma'am, you've collaborated with underground and local artists. How do you think that such a contribution, such a collaboration would contribute to shifting cultural narratives? I also noticed a reel on your Instagram featuring Bundeli rap artist. What inspired that project?
So that actually is a very different kind of project where I came on more as the producer, as the executive producer of the project. So I run a mentoring program for young documentary filmmakers. It's called Doc Commune. And one of the films that was selected as part of Doc Commune was a film on the rap artist from Bundelkhand. So there, the credit for the film really goes to the director. The only thing I can claim credit for is identifying a subject and a protagonist who I thought would make for an interesting story, and supporting the filmmaker in his journey. So, other than that, really, that's really not to my credit, it's to the credit of the director.
That's really insightful. And ma'am, as a student at Mediasala, I'm learning about storytelling through film. And I found that in your work, you've incorporated cinema and mental health in various aspects, especially in your documentaries. So what made you focus on that subject, and how do you handle such sensitive stories while making a film?
I think my filmmaking projects, especially the independent work that I do, work that is not commissioned by others, films where I really go on a journey to sort of figure out a deeper truth, shall we say. I think in these projects, what happens is that I start with an idea or a question, and then I really allow myself the opportunity to get lost in the search, right? So I spend a lot of time researching and trying to find something that seems to make sense, right? And they often come from questions we all have about life, right? So my work in mental health and my films as well really come from deeper questions that I have held about life, right? Because we're all told certain things about life, but when you do many things, you sort of come back to it and you realize that, it's not really making you happy. It's not really giving you the satisfaction that it was supposed to. You're told that, do well in school, you'll get into one of the best colleges. Okay, done. Do well in college, you get the post-graduation of your choice, right? Okay, done. Okay, finish with the post-graduation and you'll get a job of your dreams. Okay, done. And you have the supposed job of your dreams and it still doesn't seem enough. So, so it's really like, okay, is anything ever enough? Right? You achieve those milestones, whether personal or professional, and you still feel like there's something that's missing, right? And that's really where the quest came from, to try and understand if there was something that would make me feel like my life was complete and that I didn't have to look anymore, right? So that's really where the quest came from. And I think my entire journey in mental health really came from that, because so many people say so many things, right? And I wanted to find something that was really solid, and that I could really hold on to. And I think it has really changed the course of my life, the work that I've done, the films that I've made, my work on mental health. And I'm very proud, especially of the work I've done in mental health, because that's something where it's really just been for others. It's not something that I have had any professional or monetary gains from. But there's something that, His Holiness the Dalai Lama often says, which is that if you want to find real happiness, it is to stop thinking about yourself. It is when you do things for others that you find true happiness. So that is what I have found through whatever pro bono work I've done, whenever I've done that.
Yes, ma'am. I personally agree with the Dalai Lama quote as well, that personal gain is not enough. For being happy, you need to help others as well. So,
ma'am, I came across your work with the Red Door organization. So, based on your experiences, what are some key insights you've gained about mental health, both from a personal and societal standpoint?
Sure. When I started work in mental health, our grouse was that people weren't talking about it enough. Now I feel we're talking too much about it, and we're talking about it in ways which are not necessarily helpful to people, right? By that, what I mean is that, there seems to be an attitude of, if you're feeling challenged or if you're feeling like something's not quite right with your life, it's a problem. And it's something that you need to get help for. That's not what mental health is about. We will all face challenges. Human life is about challenges. There's this lovely thing that, I'd read or somebody said it, which is that, when you're hooked up to machines in the hospital, right? When the lines are going up and down, it means you're alive. If it's a straight line, it means you're dead, right? So if you're alive, there will be challenges. You will have problems. You'll have happy moments. You'll have sad moments. What I now realize, what research shows is that we tend to forget our happier moments much faster than we remember our sad moments. And there's an evolutionary reason for that. I don't want to get into that, but basically our human tendency is to gloss over our successes and to keep ruminating about our failures. So we need to understand the way our mind works, challenge that. So I think the most important thing in mental health is to actually challenge your own thinking, because most of our suffering comes from our thinking pattern and thinking processes, right? So we need to, the most important thing is to challenge the way we think. A lot of times we assume certain things to be the truth, but they're really not,
Thank you so much, ma'am, for your insightful opinions and for sharing your journey with us, your powerful stories. It was truly inspiring.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
to our viewers, stay tuned with Media Shala for more such thought-provoking conversations with change makers who are really shaping the world.